Welcome to Sisters Hub with Liz. If you're here for the first time, bienvenue. You're welcome. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. When my triplet girls started school in France, there were situations that I wasn't quite prepared for. Today, we'll be looking at the topic of my triplets girls starting school, what my expectations as a mom was, and then what the school decided instead. So our major focus today is on reasons why the French schooling system separates twins or multiples in their classes. We are going to be looking at the advantages. We are going to also look at the disadvantages. We are going to look at my personal opinion or my reaction towards the scenario, and also what I learned from the situation. And we will also be I'll be giving out few tips to mothers, more like an advice to parents with multiple kids, of schooling age. And as well, I will be expecting your contribution. In other words, it's going to be a give and take. The essence of doing this video is to build a community of well-informed moms who are aware of what to expect at this stage of their lives. That's not to say that I already know how to feel. I've already figured it out completely. No. The idea is for me to share my own experience so that if there are other parents who are going through the same situation, they will know how to jungle out of it. And also to receive ideas from the audience also on how I can improve my own expectations, knowing that my own triplets are still young. And so that brings me to the first question. Why do schools in France feel the need to separate twins or triplets from their classrooms? When I asked the question, the first thing I was told was it encourages independence among the children, so they don't have to codepend on each other. They also mentioned the fact that it reduces competition amongst the children, the siblings. It reduces sibling rivalry or competition. It also helps each other build her own or his or her own personal identity. They also mentioned the fact that the teacher can, in such cases, it gives the teachers the opportunity to observe closely the children as individuals. Okay. Another thing they mentioned is the fact that it prevents competition or comparison between the siblings, which really makes sense to me though. But I will still have my reservations later. Right now, I'm just giving you their own reasons as to why they do this. You as a parent, you will also have your own reasons. At the end of this video, you will also have your reasons as to why it shouldn't be done at a certain stage of this children's life. Okay? Now, these are reasons that the school gave, to which are the reasons why they think the children should be separated. The siblings should be separated from their classrooms. Remember, at a certain level, the options are open to both the parents and the school to decide. Now, the school's decision is to suggest it, but it is the responsibility of the parents to decide what suits their kids better at that particular time. Okay? This is it. Looking at the advantages, the first one I will mention is the fact that each child develops independence, like mentioned by the school system. And then from my own experience, I would say that it encourages the children to make their own friends. I'll take the example of my triplets. Even in as much as they play together during break time, they all have their individual friends as well that they mention. They call their names. Oh, do you know this, my friend? And they get to talk about their friends as well. Sometimes their friends come to play together with them, but then it still does not stop the fact that as individuals, they have their own friends. And then another thing I will mention is the fact that it improves their learning focus. I would take the example of even when they are at home and I'm trying to help them through their assignments, their homeworks. I find that when we are doing it together, there's a lack of concentration. But when you separate them and keep them each separately and then call them individually, it's more work. But there is more their focus, their attention span is more more intact when you're relating with them as individuals. But when you group them up and you're doing things together, there's this lack of concentration that is also there, distraction as well. If this one is talking, then the other one is automatically going to start chit-chatting, and that confuses the whole game. Then another thing we have to look at is the fact that as for teachers, it gives them easy access to the child in question. Unlike when you have two identical kids in the same class, like my triplet, now I have two that are actually very identical. So having them in the same class and they are always dressed alike. So if the teacher sometimes sees one person doing a particular thing and she wants to note it down to address it later, if she's not careful, she might forget and assume that it is the other one that did it, which is the reason why I feel it gives them more, it gives them more access to children directly. When the kids are separated, when the siblings are separated, they are not in the same class. You understand? Another point I have to look at is the fact that it reduces sibling rivalry. I'll take the example of my kids. Whatever I tell one of them, as long as the three of them are present, if I just say, oh, you respond this, and if I ask a question to one, the other one automatically assumes that I should ask her the same question as well, which is not going to be the case if they were in the same class. The teacher might just ask one person, oh, can you respond this question? And after giving the response, the sister or the brother that is in the same class might also be expecting, oh, that you should mention their own name immediately. Remember, they are kids. They are still very young, so that's, whatever attention you give to the other one, you have to give equal attention to the other one. If not, she might feel, or whoever is the sibling involved might think, oh, you are paying more attention to the other one than you are to me. Unlike when you ask them, when they are not in the same class, you can ask a question to another person in the class randomly and decide not to ask them a question. They won't feel anything special about that. Okay? So that's another advantage. Another advantage is the fact that it strengthens their confidence as individuals. When they are alone, when you separate them in their classes, the good thing is that they learn to do things alongside other people, create their own team without really, looking left and right. Like, have you seen, I don't know if you guys have met some twins that are so fusionnel. In French, they will say they are so like close to each other, like bonded, that once you separate one person, the other one is feeling like awkward, feeling lost and not in place at all. So this is a situation they are trying to avoid completely. You get? So the targets, or the advantage of the separation is to basically build their individuality, their authenticity, if I can use that word, authenticity. Okay, each child is an individual. Even if they came together as triplets or as twins, they are individuals. They have their own individual tendencies, they have their habits, they have their loves, likes and dislikes. Though there might be many things that are, that look alike that they do. At some point they might be copying each other, but at the same time they are unique. Advantage of, having them separated is, one of it is to serve their own purpose as individuals. Now, we are going to be looking at the disadvantage though, because remember, whatever has advantages has also disadvantages. One of it, which the first disadvantage I will mention, is the fact that there is emotional separation in the beginning. They feel excluded. I will use the example of my triplet. The first time we took them to school, the first year they were together in the same class when they were in petit session, which is the pre-nursery level. They were in the same class. But After that year, they were put in another level, and at this level, the school decided we separate them, and we agreed to it. Now, during the resumption day, parents are allowed to follow their kids into their classrooms to encourage them to, to tell them, oh, this is your new class, these are your new friends, don't worry, school just began, but you're going to make new friends. Some kids will be crying at that stage, but in our own case, these are two parents that have triplets. So I chose to go to one other one's class, which wasn't like a choice of preference. It was just that we had to be jumping from one class to the other. Myself and their daddy, we will run to this person's class, console her. While she's acting like she's beginning to adapt, we run to the second person's class, we run to the third person's class. So we found ourselves running helter-skelter. And it wasn't easy at all because the children's emotion was just everywhere. Even kids that do not have siblings were crying. Not to talk of these ones that are born triplets who are already used to doing a lot of things together. It was difficult for us as much as it was difficult for them, as students. So that's one of the major disadvantages that I can tell. Another one is the fact that one may feel left out or might be missing the sibling. I have one amongst them that actually kind of like didn't express completely how she felt. She just entered the class and she took it upon herself to just sit down there and not react to it. But one other one, I would not want to mention name, was really, really particularly affected. She was impacted negatively with it. She didn't feel so comfortable about the idea. She was always crying. She wasn't doing so well, academically at that time because she was feeling, oh, I want to see my sibling. I want to play with my sibling. And that was also not easy for me, at that stage. It was difficult because you can imagine dressing them up for school in the morning, and you have two people who are willing to go and one who does not really want to go to school because she feels, oh, once we get there, I'm going to be left alone. That one is the one other disadvantage that I feel. Another thing is different teachers, different experiences. When they are in different classrooms, you get to, even though they have the same. Like in the French system, each teacher brings her own way. They have the same pedagogy, but different way of transmitting the knowledge to the children. So it gives you a wider idea. But for us as parents, it's difficult because I get my kids come back. I have 3 people to help with assignments. Men, it's not easy. One person is studying a different thing altogether. The other one is doing a different thing altogether. So you have to create time. Like, there's no way you can group them for their assignments. I have to attend to one person and then come back and attend to this one, then go back and attend to this one's assignment to be sure that everything is done appropriately because the teachers give their own homework according to their class routine. Another disadvantage is the fact that that each year they have what they call the class pictures, where you have all your friends together, and it's paid for. It's not free. It's not free. But me, imagine when they were in the same class, I would just prepare them and then say, okay, they should take them, the 3 of them together, one picture, one family picture, and then another one with the whole class. Now, I have to do 6 different pictures because 2 for each other, because they're in different classes. Each person has a different group of people in their classroom. They have to take that. And so that's like 3 times the cost. It becomes more expensive. Would I also mention the fact that going out on park days, activities, extracurriculum activities that they do outside, like you will have this teacher of this class today fix appointments, and she'll say, oh, today we will be going to visit the museum. My class will be going to visit the museum and we don't have enough teachers. We want volunteer parents. When my kids were in the same class, I do as much as possible. I do a lot to make sure that I appear at least once in one of the outings so I can go with them and at least they will all be together. But this time, being that they are in three different classes, this person's date is different from the other one's date and the other one's date. And if you attend one and not attend the other one, the kids might not understand it. They might feel like, oh, you're taking sides, or you're loving this one more than you're loving her or him. So it's just a very, very, I think in my own case, I think the disadvantage is outweighs the advantage at a certain level, when they are quite young. You understand? Another thing I also mention is the fact that different homework load and pace. Okay, that I have mentioned. I've also mentioned that it's harder for us as parents to coordinate. Take for instance, now my kids' school have two major entrances, right? And because they're in separate classes, this one's exit is on the other side. The other one's exit is on the other end. So when you come to pick your kids, you have to queue because there are other parents that are there. So you wait for your turn to pick your child, right? Imagine the time that I'm waiting at this person's queue, to get this child. Before I get to the other gate to pick the other one, the other child is standing alone, virtually waiting alone for their parents to come. And then when you're coming with a sibling, one of their siblings that they know is of the same age as them. They will be feeling, why this person first? Why not me first? But this one anyway, I tried to negotiate with the teacher and the school authority. I told them that I'm sorry. If the siblings, amongst the three girls, that I had one that was older than the other one, I could have managed this strategy. But because that they are of the same age, that I would rather suggest that please do me the favor of gathering them together at one exit, so I can just go straight and queue once and for all, pick them up at the same time, so that none of them will feel like I prefer one to the other, which is not the case though. That's it. Have I mentioned the case of the outing? Yes. Have I mentioned the case of class contribution? Yes. Okay, though, when they were still in the same class contribution, sometimes when I contribute, we still do individual class contributions. Now, another one is the birthday celebration. Though luckily for me, the kids were born in the month of August during vacation period, so usually they are not in school during that time. But when they resume in school, September, the class teachers have the tendency of joining the August birthday celebrants and the early September birthday celebrants together and having a small get-together for them. And at this point, parents are expected to bring something, maybe cake, so your child will take a picture with her classmates. At this stage, because they are separated, you have to consider 3 times the events, like cake for 3 people. This. Remember, during their original date of birthday, which happens to fall in during holiday period, we already buy birthday cakes for them and we celebrate them in our own way. Now, getting back to school again, they have to celebrate with their fellow students because it is the system's norm, they do it. You have to again consider buying 3 times the cake again. That means more expenses. Do you understand? So another thing also I will mention, in fact, I can actually sit on this particular disadvantage, is like whatever. Another one you can mention is the fact that you have parent-teachers meeting, you understand? And it's usually held on individual basis, like the child in question and their teacher, including the parents. And most times the days are separate. This teacher will fix his own on a Monday, the other teacher will fix his own on a Tuesday, the other one will fix his own probably on Friday. So at each point of my life, I have to be thinking, oh, will I be available on this day? Will I not be available on this day? And in our own case, I really have to be present, So imagine if you're a parent that is out there working full time, like, I work from home, to an extent, but so I try to arrange the days, like when they give us data, I ask them to see if they can fix me on the same date with another parent, or one other of their siblings, so that I probably would do this at 5 o'clock, and then the other one at 5:15 or 5:30, depending on the length of the meeting. So that's what I do. Another area you have to put into consideration is the fact that, in fact, I can go on and on the disadvantages, you understand. So for me, in my own opinion, at their early stage, I was lucky that my children went to the creche at the age of 1. During the lockdown period, they were at the creche. They were at the creche till their age for nursery, which is 3 years old. So when they were going to start school, the teachers, 1 or 2 teachers from the creche already had prepared me, and they told me, listen, the school will suggest you put your children, you separate them. Don't do it at the first stage. Because they are new to the school environment, it will be better for them to be together in the same class for the first year at least, until they get familiar with the faces of the people there, because their case is different. They are born together. You can't just brutally bring them into a new environment like that, and the first thing you do is to separate them. So that gave me the audacity to stand on my rights. So when I got to the school, and the school system requested that we split them from the first instance, I told the school that no, I do not want them to be splitted. They are still new in the environment. They don't have friends. All they have is themselves. So they need each other, each other's presence. So that was what happened, and they left them in the same class for that first year of their pre-nursery. And then the second year of the pre-nursery, I still have the right to keep them together until they get to primary school. But at this stage, when the school suggested it again, I felt like, okay, maybe I should give it a try to see how efficient it could be. And of course, the principal told me then that if I try it out and it's not working well, that we will see what we can do about it, since they were still in pre-nursery, they were still, in nursery, not primary school yet, so that they could still do something about it. I accepted, but that was where my whole stress in life as a mother started. Everything was 3-3. They are doing baking in bakery in school, and they need parents to volunteer. I have to consider being there 3 times on several occasions, and at some point I gave up. I wasn't attending anyone anymore. At this time, it became difficult for me, and by the time the school year will run out and I came back to ask for them to be put back together, it was too late. They said no, they already have their ways of doing things. They're already learning, that me pulling them back will be like taking them steps backwards. Meanwhile, the parents who insisted that their kids remain together, they still continue to be together. I was the only one who had my kids separated at that level, and it wasn't an easy one at all. I was frustrated, I was stressed. It was not easy. So many things, the stress was a bit too much, So in my own opinion, separating the kids can help, but to an extent, it's not worth it if they are still very young. It's better to wait until the kids get to the age of primary, which is an age where it is very mandatory, for them to be in separate classes. At that stage, you can separate them, but at least within that time, they already have their own friends. They already know how to do 1 or 2 things. They already know their left and right. They already know the school. They know the teachers. They have their own friends. They will not feel so bad. They will still feel it a little, but they will not feel so bad. If you miss one person's meeting and you don't attend the other one, there's a little bit of there's a possibility for them to understand at that stage. So for my advice to parents with twins or multiples, I would suggest you, except you really want to do it that way, but if not, I would suggest when they are still in nursery, they should be together in the same class. So you as a parent, you are able to participate in some activities that they do. and you have less meetings to attend, less, reports, homeworks to do. Then when they get to primary school, you can now allow the school to separate them. That's my own suggestion, based on experience, to avoid too much kata, and stress. Now, there could be parents out there who have better opinion than I do. Don't hesitate to send in your comment. Put in your comment. We are here to learn, to know what will work better for us, and also to maintain our soft life as moms. It's already hard to have kids of the same age, demanding same level of love, demanding same level of attention. So whatever will make it easier is what we'll go for. That's the essence of this video though. So thank you very much, not to make it so long. Thank you very much for giving me your time, for listening, and please find time to watch some other videos, my previous videos, and subscribe and like if you haven't done so, because it encourages us to bring out more topics. And then that will be it for today, and see you very soon. A bientôt. Ciao. Bye.